We are live. Welcome, everybody, to the Alpha Edge episode 3. And I could not be more pumped to be here right now with my co host, Tanya Ezekiel. And we have a very delightful treat for you guys here today. T, are you ready to get nuts?
I am ready. How are you?
Doing great. Let's do this. Take it away.
Okay, so I have a fun topic for us today.
Ooh, okay.
It was something that came from a conversation I had with someone last week. And it was interesting because it challenged my perception. And if it challenged my perception, then I think it's something worth us noodling on together. And so this person was struggling with setting goals, keeping goals, and it happened to do with their wellness, with their health and wellness. And of course, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So if you kind of don't stick to personal goals, it's sometimes hard to stick with any kind of goals in life. So it got me thinking, because my first instinct was this: well, you know what? Just commit to doing it 3 weeks, and it'll happen. And you know what? The person didn't respond to that. It just didn't click for them. And then I thought, okay, so I know that when I commit to something, then after 3 weeks, I have momentum. And really what this person needs is momentum. So then I kind of put visually momentum at the top. And I'm like, well, let me back up a second. And to get to momentum, I use commitment. Didn't click for this person. So I thought, okay, that's one tool. It's not every tool that works for everybody. So then I thought, when someone can't make the commitment, what's something that could help them with the commitment so that after doing something for a few weeks, they get the momentum? Because once you have the momentum, then, if you have momentum in even one thing, you end up with momentum in many things.
Mhm.
So then I back up and I think, what could help this person? And what came to me was accountability, because accountability works for a lot of people. So let's say I want to commit to something so that I could have the momentum to achieve a goal, but I just can't make the commitment. Then if I call you up, my trusted friend, and say, hey, Craig, can you hold me accountable? I'm going to do this every day for the next 3 weeks, and I'm going to text you every morning to say that I've done it. That works for me. Well, you know what? It doesn't work for everybody. Some people don't want a morning text either to receive it or to send it, and don't want to be held accountable in that fashion. So then I kept going back. And before I kind of go back to some other tools I got to, and some other ways we can get to the accountability, the commitment, and momentum, I actually want to stop and ask you, what have you seen work for people, knowing that what works for you, what works for me, doesn't work for everybody? So how do we as coaches get people to that momentum, knowing that not all tools and not all approaches and not all ways of getting there work for everyone?
Love it. What's the one thing that we all are yearning for more of? I know you love to talk about this. Energy, right? So we all want more energy. We all desire the energetic feeling we think we'll have once we do or get the thing, right? So when it comes to doing a specific task or activity, if accountability is not going to work, the commitment's not going to work, there's one thing that has to work. Or if not, it's very telling. And that is this: reevaluating why this particular activity is meaningful for you. Because if you can't come up with an idea or learn to love it or appreciate it or be connected to it, then you will find every excuse to not do it, regardless of me or you breathing down someone's neck or asking you if you commit to it. So if it's not, and we were actually having a conversation about this last night, you and I, at Soho House, a little bit different, but if something isn't meaningful for you, you don't really have the desire to get it done. Now, that's not the end all be all, because you can create a new connection to the thing by reevaluating why you're doing it. So, for example, let's say you were going to do something that wasn't really that meaningful for you, but it was very meaningful for someone that you cared a lot about. Could you make it meaningful for you because it's meaningful to them? Yes. So the idea is to reevaluate what is the energetic connection, why is getting this activity or situation accomplished meaningful for you.
Amazing. I didn't know you were going to go to meaning, and when you did, it just like the light bulb, right? Because it's true. It's the why behind something, right? And that's really the driver. And it's interesting how many times we choose the what, and then we just can't get to the what. And one of the reasons. So let me put meaning into a different picture as well.
Mm-hmm.
So meaning itself, from what you described, and thank you for bringing it up in that way, can be the driver. And like you said, if something doesn't mean something to me, so for example, well, let's keep going on this. So if something doesn't mean something to me, my friendship with you can mean a lot. And so if you want to do it, then I might do it because the meaning is tied to the friendship.
Mm-hmm. That's the meaning, yeah.
Because that's my meaning. So again, it goes to how well do we know ourselves to know why some things we are motivated to do and others we are not.
That's lovely. I was going to interject for a second. That is such a key point that you just made, because motivation is fleeting. It's a word that gets thrown around a lot. We know that it's not lasting, but I think a really good indicator to you is when you're doing something, what is the motivation for doing it? And I believe that if you have the right motivation, you will learn to love what you're doing. And if you don't have the right motivation for it, but you're still doing it, maybe it's ego driven or something else, that's a great indication as well. So it's a good time to reevaluate and reassess as to why you may or may not have a specific motivation to do something.
Yeah. And I think from what you're saying, there's a difference between short-term motivation and lasting motivation, which is where momentum comes in. So when I'm backing out again to this place where if I can find meaning in it, then I may be motivated to do it for a longer period of time.
Right? And even more effectively, perhaps.
And more effectively.
And with more of an alpha edge.
With the alpha edge. And it's interesting because meaning comes from associating the thing you're about to do with the values that are important to you. So, for example, there's a book sitting on my desk and I know I should read it, but I just haven't gotten around to it. So
shooting on yourself.
I'm shooting on myself. I know I should read it. And I said that on purpose because should is one of the most demotivating words you could use. You're not going to get momentum from shooting on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But there's a book on my desk I really should read it, but I'm not. So then I have to ask, well, why aren't I reading this book? And so if I really do want to accomplish the completion of reading this book, then I have to associate it with some meaning, right? So what's valuable to me? Learning. Learning is one of my top values. And you and I even joke around at the end of the day, sometimes we'll get a text saying, I think I overconsumed today, right? It's just because we love to learn. We love to teach. We love to learn. And so if I tie, oh, this book must be read to, I can learn a lot from this book and I love to learn, already that book is moving closer to being center act. If I then say, well, by reading this book, I will learn something that I can then teach people. Now, the importance of the book, I'm much more motivated to read this book because now I know that reading this book means I not only learn something, which is a value to me, but I help somebody else change something that's important to them, which is a double value for me. So to go back to this question of how well do we know ourselves? How well do we know what's important to us? Because if we anchor to a value like learning, teaching, growing, helping somebody, sharing, then now it's no longer something I should do. It's something I can't wait to do.
Must do.
Must do and must do now.
100%. Beautiful. Yeah. What a great idea and concept for anyone that's maybe finding themselves with a lot of shoulds, or maybe they're questioning why they can't just get themselves to do something. What an opportunity to pause and reevaluate. Why was I even interested in this in the first place? Can I reconnect to it on a bigger level? And then you get that transformation from something I should do to something I must do. Or just maybe you'll realize that you no longer have any connection with that. And that's okay to change your mind. But at least the book won't be sitting on your desk for another 3 months and you've created your own decision about this situation.
Absolutely. To be able to look at this book and say, you know what? I don't care. It's not a topic I'm passionate about. I just bought it because everyone's reading this book and it's not something I care about. Mm-hmm. And I'm just going to give it away, put it on the bookshelf and forget about it. And that's also empowering, is to say no to the things that don't have meaning for you is incredibly valuable. It also goes back to the one thing that you said, is it also preserves our energy for the things that do have meaning to us.
Yeah. Beautiful. Because essentially we have finite energy throughout the course of a day, right? So if you're wasting energy on something, that means there's less energy for something else. So I believe if you have something on your desk or something that you've been avoiding, that is occupying some energy because you're probably emotionally thinking about what you should do, getting a little bit mad at yourself for not, creating some sort of wheel of shame and guilt. So by being able to make a decision, you now free up all that extra energy and you can allocate that to something that you will actually get done or something that's more meaningful for you.
So valuable, because when you just hit guilt and shame, which are the greatest energy drains. It's the biggest leak of your energy can come from guilting yourself for not doing it or shaming yourself for not doing something. And most of us talking here, listening to this, we want so much out of life, right? And there's so much available to us in life, and it all requires our energy and it all generates energy. And so what can we be or do to be in that circuitry of energy with as little waste as possible? As little waste as possible, because we can create so much just by preserving our energy and channeling it into the things that have the most meaning for us.
Yeah. Beautiful. What a good nugget that's universal, anybody can relate to. Something just came through I wanted to ask you. It ties back to what we were speaking about maybe 5 minutes ago in regards to meaning. One of the many things that you do so well is you go into organizations and coach a lot of high level people to get them to a whole nother level to perform. I'm sure you've experienced a time when maybe you're coaching or working with an employee. It's not their company per se, so they're not as motivated as maybe the founder. It's not their mission, but they are working there for a reason. How do you take somebody like that and reconnect them to the overall bigger picture and the bigger meaning of what the whole organization is doing as a whole? I'm curious, is that something that you work on? And if so, is there anything that you can share that might be helpful?
Such a great question. What you just asked me is the reason for individuals and companies succeeding. It's also one of the reasons individuals and companies don't succeed. And so the awareness you're asking for is the individual has to be aware of what's meaningful to them. The individual has to be made aware of what's meaningful to the company. And in both of those, there has to be an alignment. So if I'm working for a company and what drives me, the meanings I assign to things that motivate me is different from what the company's out to achieve and accomplish and deliver to the world, then eventually, if we don't find that alignment, we're going to find that separation. And the thing is, what if that's not wrong? Because the most important word in this actually is the awareness. Because when I come to an awareness as, wow, I'm working for a company and what's important to me is learning, creativity, risk taking, generating new ideas. And this company now is in a phase of, let's just keep the train on the tracks. Let's do the same thing over and over again because it's worked for us. And now's not the time to change it. Now, by the way, this could also be cyclical because sometimes we might ultimately have a similar goal, but we might be at different phases in the cycle. So the company may have come through a very creative phase and is now stabilizing. And now I just joined this company and I want to be creative. Well, there's going to be a cyclical misalignment. Now, if I'm aware of it and say, you know what, there's a lot of good here and I can learn efficiency and optimization and standardization in this cycle of the company, and that's going to stretch my muscle, then it's okay if my leading values of creativity, risk-taking, exploration are on the back burner because I want to stretch this muscle for a little while. But all of this requires so much awareness and questioning. And that's, you asked me from a coaching perspective, that's what the coaching space can provide. Because in one conversation, we can totally make it okay that what you care for and what the company cares for right now may not be the same. And so what choice can you make today that feels expansive for you and still supportive to the company's goals? And that tension can be alleviated like this. And productivity, success come back in the system.
Beautiful. And I imagine on the flip side, if somebody just can't seem to find their own values within the bigger picture, then they're probably on the wrong train, or maybe they need to reevaluate where they're at and maybe consider something that they feel much more connected to in regards to their values and also the values of the bigger picture.
And it's liberating when that happens consciously, when it happens with awareness, when it happens with curious questioning. You know what is it that doesn't feel right for me here? What am I looking for in this situation that maybe my boss or my company isn't aligned with? And what if it's not wrong? It's just the wrong team or the wrong time, or it's just, and it's liberating to say, it's okay for our values to be different or our timing to be different. And it's okay to part ways, but that doesn't happen with calm and certainty until you're willing to take a really candid, vulnerable, open look at what's meaningful to you and what's meaning to other people without the judgment. It just is. This is meaningful to me. That is meaningful to you. That's all.
I love it. And I love how that we're connecting a lot of the concepts and ideas that you and I were speaking about just last night in a personal setting about personal stuff. And yet the underlining concepts are applicable to business as well.
Because it's all how we relate, right? It's all relationships and personal relationships, professional relationships. Everything is about how we're interacting with the world. And wherever we are whatever muscles we need to stretch in our development right now are the things that are going to show up in our world. And so to see it as like, okay, this is just a playful time where I have to evaluate what's important to me and I can be an allowance of what's important to other people, and neither of us need to be judged for it. And that can go for a peer, it can go for direct reports, it can go to your boss, it can go to the company. It applies to anything and anyone you interact with.
So good, so helpful, because this is a discussion that is not niche. Anybody can connect to this idea and it can open them up and expand them to something. I'm sure so many people can relate to being a part of something they didn't necessarily feel a connection to, but that doesn't mean that there is no connection, right? Because you can create one, or you could look at it from a different way and the whole situation can change. And if you can't after doing that work, then it's not good or bad. It might be liberating to set yourself free to find something that really jazzes you up.
It's honoring. It's honoring yourself, and it's honoring of other people to say, wow, isn't it beautiful to see that I know what's meaningful to me, you know what's meaningful to you, and then we can make a choice of whether we're willing to do the work to align those, or we're just an allowance of our differences and go in different ways. And there's enough material here for a conference for all relationships in our lives.
100%. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. I had something else that was creeping in that I wanted to ask you. I could save it for next time if you had something else, or I can share.
I'm good. Let's give it a wrap on what you have next.
Since we're talking about energy, and I've been very infatuated with energy as of late. You know why? And the more I learn about it, the more expansive I feel like I'm becoming. It's a really beautiful thing. When you think about leadership and the energy of leadership, you don't have to be a CEO or manage employees to relate to what I'm about to ask you. So there are some people that seem to command a room, right? Like, have you ever noticed that certain leaders, and again, I don't mean a position, just people that as a lifestyle, the way they show up, they don't even have to say much, yet they own the space that they're walking into. What is that? Like, what is that energy that they're commanding when they don't even have to speak to assume as an authority figure? That undeniable presence that seems to just influence people before they even speak. What is that exactly, T?
Wow. Presence is such a great topic. And maybe we unpack it further at another time. But this specific question is a really important one to look at. There's many things it can be. First of all, there are, one of the underlying questions, is it authentic presence or is it fabricated for the moment, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a fair debate there on what creates each one. But what I want our audience to really question about themselves is when they enter a room, how aware are they of the impact they can make on other people? Because when someone walks into a room and says, I know that I'm here to contribute and to energize and to support and to spread, to share, whatever it is, that itself elevates the room. And and I do want to talk about kind of the limiting beliefs at another, in one of our other sessions, because I can fake the entry into a room as much as possible. Eventually, if I don't believe that I can spread energy, that I can impact other people, that I can change their world. And it doesn't have to be it's not from an ego place. If it's from an ego place, it's short-lived. I could come in with like dressed really well, shoulders back, chin up, really confident. It won't necessarily be sustainable. And it might be one of those, I can't put my finger on it, but doesn't feel authentic, right? But when we're talking about authentic presence and impact, there's a belief behind it. And whether it's just, I don't like to use the word confidence because it's made up of so many different things, but do I truly believe? And that's what I want to challenge the audience and leave on this note is, how aware am I of my ability to impact people?
Oof.
And that's the degree to which I'm going to bring that into the room, right? To know with certainty that I have something to offer and I can offer it if I allow myself to be me and I allow them to be them without the judgment, without the pretenses. So I just wanted to really tune in on one specific aspect of that presence with it, which is the knowing that I can impact people.
I'm only laughing because our conversations must go deep. Like, there's no small talk. There's no, snorkeling. We're going scuba diving every single time. So as a follow-up to what you just said, when someone has that knowing that you just described and how they show up, is there a prerequisite to be able to have that energy and that feeling? Like, do you have to be an expert or have experience in something? Or is that totally an inside job that anybody can cultivate?
You drop like 45-minute topics in like the last 30 seconds of our chat. Let's just simplify it.
Okay.
In order to inspire, I want to be tapped into inspiration. That could mean I have a coach or mentor or wisdom or that I tap into, that I borrow the certainty of to pass along to somebody else. So let's say, Craig, you're my coach and I'm about to walk into this room and I might not feel totally confident, but you know what? I trust Craig and Craig trusts me. So then I'm going to borrow Craig's trust in me.
Ooh.
Right? So I can borrow until I have my own. That's one thing. So to be inspired while I'm proving my own inspiration to myself to build my confidence. The second thing is to constantly be challenging the voice that says otherwise. Who are you to talk to this room? What do you know about this topic? There's going to be people in there who know more than this about this than you. And I want to put a bow on that or put a pin in it for now and go there next time, because that's such a big topic and that voice in our head has to be addressed. And maybe that's where we pick up next time.
Talk about a cliffhanger, my goodness. So we'll have to pick up right there for episode 4.
Yeah, let's do that.
I couldn't love doing these more with you. As we're building a little bit of a community, and the Alpha Edge is building its own brand at this point, I would love for people to find out more about how they can stay more involved in your movie, or maybe something that you're up to. Obviously, you have the 2 books. I know that you recently threw an awesome VIP dinner. Is there something that you're really excited about that someone catching the replay or listening now might be able to get involved or just stay informed in your world, Tanya?
Yeah, I'm as you've probably noticed, I'm more present on social, and really because I want people to be inspired. I have such a great desire for others to tap into their desires for themselves, and I believe that people like you and I showing up to, first of all, doing our own work to deal with the voices in our heads that tell us we can't, whatever, doing our own work, and then showing up in places where people can access both the energy and the wisdom. I'm more excited about this than anything else right now. I just want people to know what else is possible for them that they never imagined was possible, and anything I can do to light them up or to lead the way or to bring knowledge so they can get to their knowing. I'm so excited about it. I can be reachable on every platform in any way, and love doing this with you, Craig. It's always so magical, and I already can't wait for episode 4.
Yeah, unbelievable. Great discussion. I love how we created a little bit of a cliffhanger, and we'll be back for episode 4, and I will see you in person later tonight.
See you later. Bye.